It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gate.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Nielsen, Cass, and Gager, episode of Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by our great partners at a Cool Bet. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. And if you are on the YouTube chat, feel free to chime in there as well. We are going to get to another set of 10 on our top 50. Oilers camp opens tomorrow as well. And, well, first of all, guys, how's the weekend? What'd you get? Cass, what'd you get up to, buddy? What'd you do?
We had the shutdown at the cabin, so I had to go get in the water, haul some stuff out, and carry some heavy things around. So got that done. That would have been the big thing. Saturday was a little quieter. Just did like a grocery run with the kids. Took them for some ice cream, which they loved. And yeah, that was about it. So yeah, full lake day on the weekend.
That's nice. Very jealous. Gager, what'd you do?
I got lit up Saturday night, and Sunday was kind of a fog.
Just around the house on Saturday night, or what?
What's that?
Just around the house on Saturday night, or you get out?
No. Went to a friend of mine's end of summer bash. My Australian friend Rick Williams and his lovely wife Alana hosted. I made a very spicy buffalo chicken dip that got demolished. I made it like really spicy, so one person couldn't eat it all. They had to just ease into it, so it worked out well. But trying to fix the washer on a Sunday, being a little bit under the weather was difficult. I had to delay the process till Monday.
Well, what was up with the washer?
I have. You wouldn't know it to look at me, Dusty, but there's a lot of hair in my house with my wife, who's a chia pet, and my daughter that kind of has the same hairs, and my dog. So there's little parts of the washer that just get full after a while. And they have those little clamps that you have to get, like the reverse pliers to get it back. It's a mess, and you're hunched over, and yeah, but actually, I got to go into the back of the washer later today, but I'm ready. I'm focused and ready to go.
Jeez, yeah. So have you written a how to do guide on this for other people who deal with hairy families?
Well, there's a whole YouTube channel devoted to it, so it's I've subscribed now, and I'm probably going to put out some videos. Maybe I can put them on the stream.
Yeah, we'll find a way. We can air it 9 o'clock at evansandsportstalk.com. Gager clears out hair from washing machine. That'll go over extremely well. Gage, you got to get caught up on Ahsoka, buddy. Cass and I are sitting here like a couple of nerds just waiting to talk about it with you. You're killing us.
I'll do it before Thursday. I should be able to pound this out. That's a Bluetooth speaker. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll try to get this done.
Okay, good. Cass, it's worth the wait, isn't it, though? Like, to talk about this?
It was pretty good. Yeah. As you said, episode 5 and episode 6 comes out today, so I'll have to try to watch that one before Thursday. But episode 5 was awesome.
Do you think we'll see more of You-Know-Who the rest of the way in this?
Probably.
I feel like
that can't
come back around one more time.
It has to. It has to come back around at least once. Yeah. No, absolutely it should.
Yeah. Oh. Where's Gager going?
I don't know.
Is it because we were talking about Ahsoka? Well, now that he's still got his headphones.
No. I got a Bluetooth speaker, but the battery's like for about 15 minutes, and it's telling me.
Where'd you get it at a golf tournament?
No, one of the guys I work with is a product tester for a lot of different products, and one of them was a Bluetooth speaker, and so he gave me one, and it's got lights and it's really cool, but it's funny because the voice is, you can tell it's an Asian voice speaking English to recharge the battery, which I find quite humorous. But so I had to turn it off.
Okay. I almost spoiled Ahsoka for you, but then I realized you still had your headphones on. And I was like, oh no,
I could hear it.
that would not have been good. That would not have been good. All right, lots to get to. We'll get to the next 10 on our top 50. The big story in the National Hockey League over the last couple of days. We're going to start with that here in a second with the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll get to Oilers camp. It opens up tomorrow. We'll talk maybe about just some early training camp memories from you guys. But let's start with Columbus. We were on last Thursday when it was all kind of moving, and we're like, okay, well, what's going to happen? Who's right? Who's wrong? How do we view this? Is it as bad as it looks to be? Now we fast forward. That was Thursday. This is Tuesday. Babcock's gone. The Blue Jackets had an availability, and they've talked about, they made a major mistake. They owned up to it for sure. Cass, your thoughts on how this looks on that organization and how it all ended up playing out?
Yeah, well, I was a proponent, as I typically am, of trying to wait to make judgment until you actually have all the information. So the old innocent until proven guilty mindset, and that if you don't have all the information, you can't jump to conclusions. And early on felt maybe like the Spit and Chicklets guys maybe jumping to a little bit of conclusions because, they weren't guys that were, I wouldn't say had a record of supporting Babcock. they a little bit of a bone to pick there. And then, those first statements come out from the team and from Boone Jenner, and you're kind of like, okay, well, maybe this was an overreaction. And as things started to get dug into a little bit more, and young players started talking about what actually happened and about how it made them feel, and the environment that it was creating in the dressing room, Blue Jackets, basically went to Babcock and said, hey, like, this is what we're finding, and then obviously mutually made the decision to step back, and kind of vindicates the Spit and Chicklets guys to say that no, they actually did have some more information about the severity of what went on and the way that it made people feel and the inappropriateness of it. And now Babcock resigned. Organization comes out, says we made a big mistake, which how can you not say that you kind of have to say that you made a big mistake, don't you? After that, guys, like, doesn't look good for the organization, doesn't look good for the team.
You can't come out and spin that any other way, right? Like it's
no, looks bad for you. Looks bad for you as an organization and as a management group to say that, we, out of all the hires, this is the one that we felt was going to make us the best. And quite clearly it was not.
Well, me, unlike Cass, I jumped all over this. I was quick to judge, and I don't care. I think Mike Babcock's a complete jackass, and that story of what he did to Mike Modano, and I know there's probably some Oilers fans who are kind of happy because Mike Modano was the Oiler killer.
Yeah, he was a killer. Yeah.
Oh, he was. Yeah. So there's probably cheers, but how can you do that to one of the greatest American-born players ever? And I had forgotten about what he did to Chris Chelios. I thought his how Chelios responded by drinking beers at the outdoor game was great. But man, we talked about it. It's just a weird kind of thing to do, to ask someone to look at their phone and the pictures on their phone. It was a control thing that he was trying to do with some of his players. And there's so many different ways you want to, if that's what you want to do, to see someone, if you think by seeing a photo you're going to learn a lot about a person, then follow them on social media. I'm sure if Mike Babcock requested to follow a few members of the Columbus Blue Jackets and had that request, I'm sure they would have said yes. Or if they said no, maybe that's something that they wanted to talk about. Hey, why aren't you going to allow me to follow you on your social media? And he goes, well, I just don't feel comfortable with my coach looking at that. Fine. End it there. Boom. But what he did was wrong. He hasn't changed a bit. He has completely, in my mind, ruined his career. Like he has some great accolades, gold medals, Stanley Cups, and I don't think he's ruined his chance to go into the Hall of Fame. This is it for Mike Babcock.
Wow,
and to tell you the truth, I'm glad. I am glad this has happened to this guy. He doesn't deserve it. He's been a bully, and now he can just, like they said, go back to the lake in PA and he can look onto the lake and wonder probably what happened. And he seems arrogant enough to think, gosh, or what did that jerk kid say or something, and blame someone else for what's happened to him. It's great. I hope this just ends with him now.
Gager, you touched on something there that I don't think anyone has really talked about. But then when you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, you're probably right in that even with how everything went down in Toronto, he still probably had a high likelihood of getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Triple Gold Club, I think he's the only coach.
He's the only one
to be a part of the Triple Gold Club. And so you have, I think he's 11th or 12th all time in wins. So he's pretty high up on there. Probably statistically a Hall of Fame coach. This might stop that from happening.
No, it won't.
I'd say it.
You don't think it will?
No, I think it should. But there's no way the hockey world keeps Mike Babcock out of the Hockey Hall of Fame.
You think so?
I would be. I'm like 98% sure he will still get in. Look what happened in Toronto. It was rehired 3 years later, and he got other hockey jobs in between then. So I understand what you guys are saying, and Gager, I love how passionate you are about it, and I agree with you. I think, at what point do you start taking some of this stuff actually legitimately seriously, right? There's no chance it keeps him out of the Hall of Fame. None. He will be voted into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Let's talk to Coolbet about this.
I do for like the next 11 years, a line on will Mike Babcock be into the Hockey Hall of Fame? Do you guys think hockey, has hockey learned to set the precedent that if you're going to be a dick to people, you're not going to get into the Hall? There's a lot of other guys who I think people would probably classify as not good dudes in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
But it's not. Yeah, I think it's starting to change. It's starting to change. That mentality, Dusty, is starting to change. And I wonder, and this is where I go, I think they're, maybe you're right. Maybe he still gets in, but I think the path just got harder. Like I do think it changes. And part of me wonders if it's like, this is, if even if there's people that have gone in the past that maybe weren't great people, if that moral, ethical, character component doesn't become a bigger part of it,
which it
moving
should
forward.
Yeah,
it should always. It should always.
Yeah, that's true. But it's not all. It's also not like the Hall of Fame of good guys. It's not like the Hall of good guys. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame, right? So I don't know.
But if you're a jerk all the time to everybody and you do all kinds of horrible stuff or things that are just, I don't know, like when you're a player and you sign a contract in the standard player's contract, there's a component to that's a character component to it, that basically you are committing to uphold yourself to a certain standard.
Like nothing detrimental to the team and brand.
Nothing detrimental to the team and brand in league, which is pretty standard. But to me, it's like, okay, if you regardless of what you accomplish in terms of wins and goals and assists and points and whatever, it's like if you are crossing that line all the time, it should be a consideration, knowing that it's not a moral thing. Now the tricky part is you're going to have to you find where you're going to draw the lines on it. I mean, is it someone that commits a felony? Is it someone that just was kind of a jerk at times? Is it like, I guess it becomes a little more ambiguous and a little more difficult, but I don't know. I don't mind having a character component to it, but
what do you guys think about this? Who would get into if there was a choice between two? And I'm trying to grab some comparables. Who goes in before? Is it Babcock or does Joel Quenneville go into the Hockey Hall of Fame? Or do they both not make it?
Oh, man.
That's tough.
It's Joel Quenneville's second all-time in the league in wins.
I know.
But it was also a part of something that was awful for the National Hockey League. So I still think they both get in. I think in the end, the Hockey Hall of Fame members would vote them in, but we'll see. I mean, That's a really good question, Gage. This was a really good point. It's also a discussion that I haven't heard a lot of people actually have yet. That was that was a good one. I don't know. I'm torn on
you're
it.
welcome.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
No, I wonder. I'm surprised Columbus Blue Jackets didn't hire Joel Quenneville right after. That was their next coach, but
that would not have been good. That would not have been good.
That would have been, I think that would have been finally, Yarmo, you're done.
Yeah. Yarmo's like, sorry. Can I have a third try? No, you've already been here for 10 years, man. Like, figure it out at some point. Cass, what do you think it does in Columbus? So Boone Jenner came out with, his statement, and then you got other younger guys saying, well, this isn't what happened. I was over here outside of the rink with him, and he was going through my phone. The guys have already said, no, everything's going to be good. I've seen someone say, this will bring us closer together, which I kind of believe. But what do you think about the room vibe? Like, are they all united because they don't have to play for Babcock? Has it worked out that way?
I think maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think part of it, to me, what the vibe is going to be is going to be moving forward what Vincent makes it. Right? So you have a new coach stepping in. A guy that's been around the organization for a couple of years, that was the assistant, and it's going to be, what type of reputation does he have with the players, and what kind of culture can he foster immediately stepping in? So how is he handling this in meetings? How are they addressing this internally inside the dressing room, and what are they doing? Because it could lead to a pretty fractured room. If some people's experiences were different than others. With that being said, if the young guys are being honest about what happened, and they get together as a group and they basically say, look, this is what he was doing, it wasn't right. Well, then, you could have everyone pull everything together. And, if I was a coaching staff, I'd kind of say, part of my theme heading into the season would be, oh, listen, all this stuff happened. Everyone's writing us off now. As an organization, as a team, they're all against us.
Yeah.
And kind of take an us versus them mentality to it. And that I'd be talking about how people are saying negative things about the organization because of this. They're pooping on us as players and as an organization and as a team. And it's our responsibility to go out there and prove them wrong. I mean, I'd be taking that angle with it, but to me, it's on Vincent now as the coach, and it's on the leadership group. So Jenner and Goudreau and those other guys to make everyone comfortable and to pull everyone on board so that you're all in the same wagon and the horses are all pulling the same direction here. And you got to do that early. And fortunately, it's early enough in the season. This isn't something like it's a month in, like it's still pre-training camp. So it throws a wrench in it, but it's not like you had 2 months under your belt and now you're doing it. So you still have time to adjust here. You still have time to set that team culture and establish it. But yeah, to me, ultimately, it's going to be Vincent.
Gager, if this team starts 2-8, do you think they clean house? Not with Vince, the guy just got his job, but with Kekalainen and David. Like, do you think that ownership group says, okay, obviously your judgment 3 months ago was horrendous. We gave you a do-over. The group that you put together here is not working. Do you think that's the case, or does this continue they're still good? They're safe no matter what?
Well, yeah, they have to have a plan in place of who's going to replace everything too.
You could start thinking about that now, though. I mean, just in case.
I think you would see JD taking over kind of everything. Yarmo, definitely the first axe is if they do have a start like that. I could see the GM leaving before the coach does. He would get a longer rope in my mind. JD would go in there and kind of try to restructure everything and eventually probably see his departure by the end of the year if the start is as bad as you say, Dusty. That's but I mean, geez, there's a good chance they do start 2-8, isn't it? Like they're in a tough division, and I don't see that team. I don't see them making the playoffs at all or anything like that. So another year of missing the playoffs and all this other circus stuff that's gone on, man. Not the start that they probably envisioned of this year, going in with what they thought was someone that could come in and change everything with the organization.
It's two guys, the goalie, Nielsen, Cass, and Gager with you. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you very much. If you're listening at a different time, if you're watching live right now, feel free to dive in on the YouTube chat, and you can text us 780-218-9999 if you were listening to the live stream at edmontonsportstalk.com. Training camp for the Edmonton Oilers opens up tomorrow. Was it the first NHL training camp for you guys that is like the one that still sort of stands out for you, or is there another camp somewhere along the way where, you know, the nerves are really cranked up for some reason?
I think I've said that, but back in the day at Oilers camp, Oilers had like 8,000 guys at camp. So I think I had my jersey number was like 78. And
you weren't even in the visitors room at the old bar, and you were like in one of the other ones, right? The refs room.
It was way down the hallway. Yeah. And again, Cass and the funniest part is when you go through and they have all the lineups on the sheets, and you're looking at each player that's on your ice session going, okay, he's got a chance to make it and I'm with him, so that's good. If you're with a bunch of minor leaguers, you're like, oh no, I'm screwed, this isn't gonna work out. And you know, and then every day you see everyone congregate. It's like the water cooler in training camp is just checking out where you are, what ice time you're on, and who you're playing with, because that dictates of if you're going to maybe stay, maybe get into an exhibition game. It's nerve-wracking and terrible. I must have walked past those things at least 8 times, hoping that sometimes they would change.
You just go back, circle again. Oh nope, still in group 4.
Yeah. It would have been great if I had the cojones to grab a Sharpie and throw me on the other list or whatever. But no, it's a fun time. You're going day to day. Sparky was just he channeled his inner Babcock during camp, because first day of cuts back in the day, he would wear either wherever the minor league team was, it was a Hamilton
Seriously?
Bulldogs. Oh yeah, he'd wear his Cape Breton Oilers T-shirt that was like, it was a boys' medium, and so it was really tight on Spark. And he would be walking around, it's D-Day, boys, it's D-Day, and if you came back in off the ice and see your bag sitting there all packed, and it was a Cape Breton bag. It wasn't even. It was the worst thing is they just recycled the old bags that went to the minors. So the Cape Breton bag was just stains and bird shit on it from sitting out on the tarmac too long, and all your stuff was going on there. But no, out of all that stuff, it was a lot of fun to be in that and just trying to make the team. Lots of fun.
Yeah, well, it's still fun. I mean, for me, there's a shift, because that first year, you know you're not making the team, but you're excited. You're just excited to be there. Right, you're just excited to be there and just stay as long as you can. And there's nerves about going on the ice with veteran players. I mean, I still remember my like, what is happening moment, my first one. So this was in warm-ups, first skate training camp in Minnesota. We're on the ice. Another guy, one of my good buddies, Riley Emerson, who's a big boy. He's like 6'8", 6'9", comes from a family of giants. They're out in Abbotsford, awesome people. But he was on the ice. I was on the ice. We were in the same group, and it was a mix. You had some veterans, had some AHL guys, had some young draft pick guys, which we both were. We're skating in warm up. So the practice hasn't even started yet. And then you start like the very first thing was just like the hard between the blue lines sort of thing, like or hard up just to start to get warm before everything started. And I remember we were doing that, and Wes Waltz, who I also remember talking about sitting in the dressing room early on in that camp, talking, because that's when they made like ephedrine got like pulled from all the shelves, and he went and he got like, he said he filled up his whole truck with ephedrine, like, which was the type of, like, he just like went out and bought as much as I could, and it was before. Now, even like now in the NHL, I think you get like you if you were to get drug tested, like you can't have ephedrine in your system, and I think it's a banned now, but back then it wasn't. And Wes Waltz, who is in really good shape, who was super, super, super intense. So you already have this guy's like getting this ephedrine and loading up, and he's really intense, and he's an older guy that's been around. And so we're on the ice and we're doing the warm up. And Wes Waltz doesn't think Riley Emerson is skating fast enough. Now, Wes wasn't a huge guy. Now, he was really cut like in tremendous shape, like really, really good shape, and was pretty. Yeah, he was cut. He was a physical specimen for his size at that time, especially, and not a huge guy, but intense. And he skates by Riley, and I remember I was behind them a little bit. He didn't think Riley was skating fast enough in warmups. So this is still warmups, and this is an 18-year-old kid in his first training camp, first practice at main camp, and Wes Waltz skates by him because he doesn't think he's skating fast enough, and two-hand axes him in the back of the legs on the way by and just drops him. And I'm just staring at this going like, what is happening right now? Couldn't believe it. I just remember being like, what is going on? That was my first, very first skate. The only thing I really remember from the first practice, which is being like, oh my goodness, like this is nuts. So that was a good one. And then as camps went on, I think the more excited I got for camps was when your number started getting lower. So your training camp number starts getting lower, because when you step into training camp and your numbers, like Gager said, like in the 70s or in the 50s or 60s, you're like, yeah, I'm in pretty tough here to make this team. And then, all of a sudden you get like it assigned a real number when you're a guy that hasn't played games or is just, closing in on the opportunity to actually make the team, and you get the real number. That was always the exciting one. But Gager's absolutely right. I mean, you analyze those lines from day one. Which group am I with? Who is on my line in that group? Like, who am I skating with? Am I skating with other AHL guys, or do I have at least one NHL guy on my team? Or do they have, do I have a first round draft pick on my line if I don't have NHL guys? Like, am I like a guy that's probably going to get an opportunity here? Like, am I with one of those guys, or am I just with guys that are plugs? Am I a plug? When other people are looking at this list, are they viewing me as a plug? Are they looking at this list going like, oh man, I'm with that guy? So you start, and I mean, you can work yourself up into so many different mental states with that. And Gager's absolutely right. Those days when numbers start getting cut and start dropping, like seeing that list or the names written on the board for like who's got to go see the coach after, it's like all you want to do, you're just praying you don't see your name anywhere, only on the lineup, and never seeing your name anywhere else. Because if you see your name anywhere else, you're done. So you're just those nerves, and it's coming into the rink, and then it's getting off the ice. Those are the two times.
Yeah.
It's like,
get out of there as quick as possible.
Get out of there as quick as possible. Yeah, can't cut me if I'm not at the rink, which is totally not true. But you're just like, stay on the ice as long as possible, and then get off the ice. And when I'm off the ice, get out of there as quick as I can. Yeah, and get back, and don't even go back to the hotel. Go to the mall. Go out for lunch. Go somewhere. Turn my phone off.
Good luck finding me.
Yeah.
I like the idea of you. I like you getting
me.
off the ice, taking off your skates, and walking out in your full gear and shoes. Like,
changing at the hotel.
Can't cut me if I'm still in my equipment.
I was full gear walking back across to the Forum Inn, full gear, the mask and everything, just so they wouldn't cut me. And the other thing was, if you practice early, and there was an exhibition game the next day, so if you practice early, usually that was a sign that those guys were going to play the next day. That's what in my mind, I looked at. It usually worked that way, but so it was, the exhibition game was, am I playing? Am I not playing? How many goalies are playing? Do I get a period? It was, oh gosh, my heart just jumped. I watched this ask if I'm working out.
The name thing, or like looking at the list, is described me as a parent now, with like the different groups that like Marshall's skating in and then Elizabeth skating in, and I'm like, well, I know that kid. That kid's pretty good. Oh, that's good. Marshall's in this group with this guy because he's a pretty good skater. Like this is it's an unhealthy obsession. Now our rosters have now been set, so we know the team for the kids, but for like the last 2.5 weeks, and every parent I know is like the same way. They're like, well, what's this? What's this mean? What's this guy? He was on the team last year. It's a real messy situation, but that's okay. Oilers training camp opens up tomorrow. We talked a lot about the goaltending the last time when you guys were in studio, so we don't need to dive into Campbell and Skinner again. We'll see how it ends up sorting itself out. Gager, I brought it up with you this morning on my show. Cass, I'm going to throw it to you right now here on Two Guys and a Goalie. What does Broberg need to do to work his way into the top 6? And that path is likely Desharnais becomes the 7. Maybe they're running 11-7 for a lot of the year again. Who knows? But what do you think Broberg needs to do in the next 2.5, 3 weeks to be in the opening night lineup if possible?
He needs to make 0 big mistakes. 0 big mistakes. Little mistakes they're going to be able to deal with, but he needs to. I mean, as much as you don't want to say it, I don't want to say he has to be perfect. I don't think he has to be perfect, but he's got to be. He really does. He has to be consistently better than Desharnais. If he gets penalty kill time, this would be actually a huge factor for me. I think if he gets penalty kill time and opportunity in the preseason, which he will, he needs to be really good on the penalty kill. Because he's going to be a guy, if you're wanting to play in that number 6 spot, you're going to have to eat up some penalty kill minutes. And that's what he's going up against Desharnais, who, as we saw in the playoffs, can get exposed with his skating, where Broberg doesn't get exposed with his skating. He skates very well. But what Desharnais does is he solidifies your penalty kill. How much better was the Oilers' penalty kill with Desharnais? It was way better, just because of reach and distance and physicality on it. And Broberg's a different style of player, but he needs to show that he can be, or he has improved on the penalty kill to a point where they can trust putting him out there consistently. That to me is going to be the big thing, but can't have big mistakes, which is going to be challenging. I mean, it's going to be hard, but
it's going to be challenging. But Gager, I feel like he's a high enough end talent that he should be able to limit those at least, right?
Oh yeah, you see the way he can take over a game in the American League, and it doesn't always translate your game from the American League to the NHL for sure. Broberg has to be a type of defenseman this year. Take a good enough step where he can be on the ice, second period, long change, last change, other team throws out their top guys, and the coaching staff feels like doesn't have that. We got to get these guys off as quick as possible and get someone else out there. He has to play well enough that they have the confidence that he'll be able to handle this and be able to kill any sort of offense or kill any sort of play that develops on the other team offensively. He's just got to bring his defensive game to another level, and provide that first pass breaking out just crisp every single time. He skates better than Desharnais. And listen, I like the way Vinny plays, but he shouldn't be carrying the puck. I think that's an area where Broberg can help maybe solidify his place a little bit more ahead of Desharnais as a really solid puck-moving defenseman. Physical play, clearing guys in front of that's going to be the biggest challenge for him, I think, opposed to Desharnais, because he has that physical presence. But I'd like to see him take a step more with, obviously, with his defensive play and his ability to move the puck to the forwards.
Hey, guys, what are Ceci and Kulak thinking that the trade deadline will likely bring in a true number 4 defenseman? If you're looking to add the Oilers this year, and we'll see how it plays out. Camp starts tomorrow. But I would have to think if the Oilers had $5 million sitting around right now, that money would go to a second pairing, right shot D, or somebody that can play in place of CC, do you think?
Possibly.
Not that he would be out. Then you could run CC and Kulak on your third pair, right?
Yeah. So if we had a big bias button, like that we could flash up on the screen, I'm clearly completely and admittedly totally biased on Cody Ceci. I know there was times he didn't accomplish what the public thought he should accomplish. The thing with Cody Ceci is you're also playing with Darnell Nurse, who at times does things that are completely unpredictable. and it can be a challenge in playing with that. So if you have the money, maybe you can. But I still think for the money that you're paying Cody Ceci, you're still getting a very good defenseman at the dollar value.
Yeah, I don't think anybody complains about CC's contract, right? It's a fact that you don't have more money to get somebody else too.
More money to get, yeah, maybe. So if you have more money, maybe you look there, and then if your third pairing becomes Kulak and Ceci, well, that's a pretty good third pairing. Like if you look at what Kulak has been able to do in the playoffs and what he's capable of, and then CC as well. I mean, if that's your third pairing, you're in a pretty good spot, really good spot. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be jumping all over, and even from a depth standpoint, to say that we're going to move CC at the deadline, I'm not rushing out to do that. Like, obviously, if you're able to get something that you can't say no to, then you can't say no to it. But I don't know. I'm not running out to make that move. And even Kulak, it's like from a dollar value standpoint, it's not like you're paying him $6 million here, guys.
I think you're pretty comfortable with Kulak being on the ice in a playoff situation, like regardless of how much money he makes, right? Like
both of those guys.
Yeah,
both of those guys.
Yeah,
I love Kulak, man.
Yeah,
he's great.
Cass makes a good
playoffs.
point. Gager, like last year in the playoffs, I don't remember when Cass, you would have been doing a lot of post games with Tommy, but I don't remember any times where CC and Kulak were the main issues that everybody was talking about after a game. Like, that didn't happen very often.
Nope.
So, Gager, you love Kulak though?
Oh yeah, he's how he brings his game up in playoffs. He's done it for 2 years in a row now. Unbelievable skater, and he's got a lot of bite to his game. That's how I envision Broberg to play, with maybe a little bit more upside on the offense. So hopefully, if Broberg gets to the Kulak level, and CC, I think there's more that he's capable of doing too. I think 2 years ago in the playoffs, we saw what CC was able to do. Maybe if everyone takes a step like we're talking about, there's no need to do that at the deadline. I'd love for at the deadline, Dusty, for the deadline to come, and what the Oilers are looking for is insurance in case of injury. That would be the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Not looking to get any better or replace or do anything else. If the Oilers can get to the trade deadline and say, yeah, we'll just get an extra forward just in case someone goes down, or another D, then they're really going for it and don't have to mortgage the future on losing some prospects or draft picks.
Yeah, can I just jump on one thing?
Yeah.
Well, two things. One, kind of you both touched on it. There was a couple times, and Dusty, I didn't think of it till you mentioned this, but there was a couple times in the playoffs when Brett Kulak was their best defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There was a couple games, and me and Tommy talked about that a couple of times, where it was like, this guy didn't look good, this guy didn't look good, but Kulak, man, he was carried the puck well, skated well, jumped into the offense a little bit, generated, like he had a couple really, really, really good games in the playoffs, and he was right there. And I would say, now to go to Gager what you said, with CC and his play in the playoffs, CC is able, I think CC's game ups his game when Darnell Nurse ups his game when they're played together. So when Darnell Nurse is playing at his A level, it enables CC to play at his A level. When Darnell Nurse is struggling, and when he's struggling, it's when his decision-making is not at its best. Like Darnell at his best is a really good defenseman, and that's when he's acting and he's reading and responding, and he's not just kind of doing random things. Like when he plays inside of himself and plays with that edge, that's when Darnell Nurse is at his best. And when he does that, I think it enables CC to not try to cover for the unpredictability. Like when he's able just to say, okay, I know what's going on, I know what's going to happen, I know what he's going to do, I know what he's playing, then it enables CC to raise his game and to just, I don't want to say he gets concerned about covering, but he sometimes maybe gets concerned about covering.
Well, we'll see how it plays out as we work our way through training camp, guys. Let's get into the next group in our top 50 here before we read. It's a great episode. Lots of good conversation. We haven't even got to the top 50 yet. So let's dive through here. I don't think there's a couple of interesting discussions here. So I recapped it at the beginning of the episode. We went through just quickly one more time in case somebody hops on just here at the end. I'm going to go the other way from 31 all the way down to 50. Roman Josi, Timmy Stützle, Matty Beniers, Sorokin, Aho, Hedman, Ovechkin, Panarin, Vasilevsky, and Point. And then in the 40s, Suzuki, Barzal, Sergachev, Keller, Svechnikov, UC Saros, Pietrangelo, Trouba, Willie Nylander, and Brad Marchand. This is a group of guys, our list of top 50 that we would want to start a franchise around as of today. Connor Hellebuck comes in, the next name on this list, sitting at number 30 on the list. Gager, quickly to you here on Connor Hellebuck. There's only one goalie, I think, higher than him on this list. And he's a little bit ways up still. We'll get to him. But Connor Hellebuck still good, a good amount of years left in him here to stabilize a franchise for 5 to 7?
I think so. He makes a good team a lot better still. Solidify the position, allows, I think when you have a goalie of his caliber, it allows younger defensemen to be comfortable, to know that if they did make a mistake, they have someone that's probably going to bail them out more times than not. I find him a little bit high in this. I had him a lot lower, just because I'm a goalie and I think you should start a franchise with a goalie. I'll leave it at that.
Cass, where do you come out on Hellebuck being here?
I had him a little bit lower on the list in terms of overall, like higher number, whatever. Less. I had him down. Further back.
Yeah.
Further back on the list.
I was pretty high on Connor Hellebuck still.
I mean, just goalies in general. Again, you can, I think, win a cup with a good goalie, not a great goalie. And Hellebuck's a great goalie. I do start to look at, okay, how many years, really good years left does he have in the tank? Maybe 4 or 5, which would get you a good start. So he deserves to be on the list. Absolutely. Still need a good defensive core to support, because if you don't have that, I still don't know. So, you know what? Great goaltender, one of the best in the league consistently. I don't mind having him on the list. I just had him not quite this high.
Number 29 on the list, Detroit Red Wings defenseman Mo Seider. And then there's 2 other defensemen rated at the top of this group. It's a bunch of forwards between Mo Seider and the other 2 defensemen. I want to watch more of this guy still. You know, like from the glimpses that I've got of him, you look at him, and even at a really young age, you're like, oh, you're a stud. Like, you're a guy. Like, Detroit has a franchise defenseman for the next 15 years if they want, don't they?
Yep, which is why he's on here.
Yeah.
And he's another one of those guys on me that here it's like every year that goes by, the potential for him to continue to move higher and higher up the list to where you take him more likely it's probably going to happen.
He could end up being a top 15 guy on this list in a couple of years.
Oh yeah,
right? Like for sure. I would
absolutely
think.
He could. Absolutely he could. Yeah, absolutely. And if you put a better team around him, which, you know, hopefully Detroit gets to that point at some point. They're not there yet, but yeah, he you know, the studliness that he is could just continue to shine. So really, really, really good player. Happy he's on here.
He's going to win a Norris one day, I think.
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if his career, with what you see right now, what he already does, the potential to continue to get better, which he will, there has to be a Norris somewhere along the way there. Okay, the next 6 names are all forwards. So we're going to go through these 6 guys, and then we can kind of figure out the interesting aspects of this. Okay, so working our way up from 28 to 27, 26, 25, 24, 20, 23. Jason Robertson, Elias Pettersson, Steven Stamkos, Mitch Marner, Sidney Crosby, Roope Hintz. Gager, your first thoughts on that group?
Pettersson, I find a little high in that one.
You were the high guy on Stamkos. Like for me, I look at this.
I didn't have Stamkos on my list.
You didn't even have Stamkos on your list?
I don't think I had him on my list.
I had Stamkos at 10.
You had him way up there.
I just look at what he's done. He's a Hall of Famer. He's won cups. He's still one of the best goal scorers in the league. I know there's injuries there, but I just think immediately with Steven Stamkos, you have a culture that's looking towards winning and has that pedigree of a Stanley Cup champion. I find that's a little bit disrespectful for Steven Stamkos.
Disrespectful for Steve. I mean, you create a culture of winning. How about creating a culture of being old and not being able to skate anymore?
Stamkos can still play, man.
Of course he can still play. I'm not starting a franchise with him today. He's not on my list. Crosby's not on my list either. Again, this not to take away anything that they've accomplished. They Hall of Famer, both of them, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. If we took him, if this draft was like, who do you take as a rookie? Well, yeah, they're like right at the top of the list. Crosby's right at the top of the list. Stamkos is really high on the list. But I'm just like, okay, well, how many years are you going to get out of him here? What you're going to have that franchise player for 2 years, 3 years, and then the play is going to drop off significantly?
But then you could also have a guy instead of him who isn't even at that level and maybe never gets to that level. You know what I mean? Like
for 2, yeah. But the Pettersson one, I get okay. You know, it hasn't had a lot of playoff success. That's but still a really good player. You know, the one on here, Heinz, I think Rupe is about where he should be on the list. The one that chaps me out of this, that you guys and knowing where I have
you
him,
have him at number 8
is Jason Robertson. Is how on earth do you not have this player higher on your list? If you're starting one today for your future.
Yeah, I had him at 50. And I love him. I think he's great.
Justify that to me, Gager. Why do you have him that low?
Gager,
on
I
this
think
list?
you actually have him at 34. I've got him at 34 on your list.
I might have added him
I
twice.
think you love him so much you had him twice, because I think he's at
I
34
love him
on
so
your
much
list,
he'd
and
be
then you have
higher.
him like just outside of 52.
Yeah, he is at 34. I just saw that.
Yeah.
No, okay. I don't know. I guess I forgot. I don't know what I was. Probably an IPA at that point. It was a long list. No, look.
It's a bitter
I
IPA,
like
so you were
Jason
grumpy.
Robertson. He's a goal scorer, but I think he needs a lot more support. He would be my second pick available. I'd look for something else before.
Is it weird
Guy
that
freaking score
is it weird
goals.
that Rupe Hintz is above Robertson on our end
Yes.
list? Because you also had
Yes.
Rupe Hintz relatively well placed there.
I think I had him right around 20-ish. I think. Let me.
I had him
I'd tell you what he-
32.
Yeah, Cash, you had Rupe Hintz at 16, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, so he's a little higher than 20.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive for Rupe Hintz to get to this point already. Like here we are talking about him.
Great year last year.
He did have an excellent year. So, and then there's Sidney Crosby on the list. Cass, if you're starting a franchise, you still don't want anything to do with old Sidney Crosby.
No, he wouldn't be. To go to Gager, would he be a second pick?
No, he'd be first pick. First pick.
Yeah,
First pick.
he'd be a second pick for me.
Did you not see him delivering season tickets to people today
In a big bag.
in his jersey?
In a big bag. I saw
In a
that.
big bag going to people. There was people crying, Cass. You can't. That doesn't grow on trees, man.
But that's because of what he's.
I
That's
would be
because
crying.
of what he's done.
Yeah.
So you're just living in the past here, Gager.
Yeah.
This is like.
Have you met me?
If we were putting on like a concert series for who's going to sell the most albums in the future, Flock of Seagulls wouldn't be your number one pick, right? Like that's living in the past. That is not. That's what have you done for me in the past. That's not what you will do for my
Did you just
franchise in the
compare
future.
Sidney Crosby to Flock of Seagulls?
No, yes, but that's a bad.
That's the most random
sorry.
comparison of all time. Like, I love it. Though.
Okay,
I
so
love it.
how about this? Okay, maybe I'll use like Bon Jovi.
Okay, that's better. That's better.
Great.
Yeah.
There you go, like Bon Jovi. So a band that was for a long time one of my favorite all time bands. It was one of the greatest bands of all time. Am I if I have to put together a lineup of this is who I'm going to tour with for the next 15 years? Bon Jovi isn't at the top of my list because the guy's like 80.
Yeah.
So, Crosby's got too much age to him to start a franchise today. Again, like as a second player, sure, in that growth and development of the young guys, but like how many amazing years are you going to get? Like to me, Crosby is now at a point he can't move further up the list. He can't. He's not going to move further up the list. Every year that goes on,
Yeah,
he's
he would
dropping
never.
down.
He was much higher on the list last year. Next year, he'll probably be in the low 40s, early 50s.
He'll probably be below. And guess what? Next year, I won't have him on the list again.
I'm shooting you down in a blaze of glory.
Well done, Gager. Then two defensive.
Well, I will go to sleep on a bed of roses.
And I don't have any clever Bon Jovi reference to put in here. My wife loves Bon Jovi, me not so much. Rasmus Dahlin and then Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes sitting at number 30, Rasmus Dahlin, or 31, Rasmus Dahlin at 32. Honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with either of those guys in that situation. I think I'd probably, let me look. Yeah, I have Rasmus Dahlin a little bit higher than Quinn Hughes, but you got to love both of them. I mean, they're both phenomenal talents.
Yeah, I had Quinn at 35, Rasmus at 22. Just what I think. Power helps a lot with him now that he has someone else. We're going to see those two are just going to be a tower of power for the Sabres for years to come. What he was able to accomplish at the beginning of the season last year, I really think the Sabres are a playoff team this upcoming season. Unbelievable player. I'd have him I did have him a little bit lower.
I'm trying to see. I can't see where I put him in. I'm trying to find it too quick. That's okay. I mean, great defensemen. Both of them great defensemen. I think they kind of fit right into that spot. Darlene, I think again. Hughes as well. I mean, he's made the captain for a reason. He's going to be around. Yeah, he's up there. Yeah, both are good. I would be very comfortable with having either of those.
There
guys.
are only 4 defensemen in the top 20 on our list. So these two guys are right there in 5 and 6. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Two Guys That Go. Hey, check it out, guys. This was delivered to me while we were doing it. This is Edmonton Sports Talk hat. We're just getting getting them in. So we'll make sure we get some for you guys. And looks not bad, It's a straight brim. I'm going to have to curve the crap out of this, but I like the way it looks. It looks pretty good. We'll get to 20 to 11. On Thursday, and hey, Oilers camp will be up and running by Thursday as well, so that'll be exciting. Gager, you watch Ahsoka. Don't do anything else until we see you on Thursday and here for the hangout, all right? That's going to do it for this episode, Two Guys and a Goalie, and another day on Edmonton Sports Talk. Make sure you stick around on the live stream. We'll have Nielsen Show replay and a bunch of other stuff coming up throughout the day. As always, Two Guys and a Goalie brought to you by CoolBet. For Gager and Cass, I am Nielsen. We will talk to you on Two Guys and a Goalie on Thursday. Tomorrow on Edmonton Sports Talk, we'll talk to you around 6 o'clock with the Nielsen Show, and we'll talk to you then. See you later, boys.